What do you do when the wife you love has been cheating on you for years and you're quietly plotting to take everything away? At 35, Trevor Gant discovered Emily's dirty secret and chose cold, legal revenge over tears. From a small house in Oregon to the corporate heights, his story is a game of chess where the queen falls and the king wins. Trevor Hunt was a quiet man, the kind who'd rather fix a problem than complain about it. At 35, he lived a simple life in a modest Portland, Oregon, bungalow with his wife, Emily Hayes, and their 5-year-old twin sons, Luke and Austin. By day, he was an engineer at Hayes Industries, a family-owned aviation parts company run by Emily's father, Cliff Hayes. By night, he was a devoted dad, reading bedtime stories and tinkering with blueprints in the garage. Emily, on the other hand, was a whirlwind, tall, stunning, and dripping with the confidence of someone born into money. She'd sweep in from her golf trips with expensive gifts and a smile that could melt anyone. Trevor adored her. Until the night everything changed. It was a rainy Thursday in October, the kind of evening where the drizzle tapped the windows like a restless finger. Emily had come home late, claiming a tournament ran long. She crashed on the couch, her phone buzzing beside her. Trevor, tidying up the boys' toys, glanced over as the screen lit up. A text, "Missed you tonight, babe. Room 412 still open." His stomach dropped. The sender's name was just J, no last name, no context. He stood there, frozen, as the rain hammered harder outside. Emily stirred, mumbled something about being tired, and rolled over. Trevor didn't wake her. He didn't yell. Instead, he grabbed her phone, hands trembling, and scrolled. What he found wasn't just a fling, it was a wrecking ball. Months of messages, flirty emojis, hotel bookings. Jay wasn't alone. There were others, names like Mark, T, even a coach. Photos, too. Emily in a tight dress at a bar, laughing with a guy whose arms snaked around her waist. Another of her in a hotel bed, sheets tangled, captioned, "Worth the drive." Trevor's chest tightened. He wanted to smash the phone, scream, storm out into the storm. But the boys were asleep upstairs, and he wasn't that kind of man. He set the phone down, jaw clenched, and stared at her sleeping form. She looked so peaceful, like the woman he'd married 7 years ago. But that woman was a lie. The next morning, Emily acted like nothing happened. She kissed his cheek, ruffled the twins' hair, and breezed out for brunch with friends. Trevor watched her go, the Mercedes purring down the driveway. He didn't confront her, not yet. He needed proof, something solid to cut through her charm when the time came. So he called a guy he knew, a private investigator named Ray, who'd helped a coworker once. "I need you to follow her," Trevor said, voice low. "Find out everything." Ray didn't ask questions, just quoted a price and got to work. 2 weeks later, Ray slid a folder across a diner table. "You sure you want this?" he asked. "I steady." Trevor nodded. Inside were timestamps, receipts, grainy photos of Emily slipping into motels, laughing with strangers in country club parking lots. But the real gut punch was a video clip, short, shaky, filmed through a window. Emily, in a hotel room, sipping wine with a broad-shouldered guy in a polo. She leaned in, whispered something, and laughed, a sharp, mocking sound. "Trevor's clueless," she said, clear as day. "Thinks I'm at practice. God, he's so boring." The guy chuckled, pulling her closer. The clip cut off, but the damage was done. Trevor didn't cry. He didn't drink. He sat in his truck outside the diner, rain streaking the windshield, and let the anger simmer. She'd been playing him for years, spending his money, her family's money, on affairs while he built a life for their sons. Worse, she mocked him, thinking he'd never catch on. He could have stormed home, thrown her out, made a scene. But that wasn't Trevor. He was an engineer, methodical, precise. If Emily wanted to play games, he'd play better. Smarter. She'd build her castle on lies. He'd tear it down, brick by brick, and leave her with nothing but the rubble. Back home, he tucked Luke and Austin into bed, their small faces peaceful. "Love you, Daddy," Austin mumbled, clutching a stuffed dinosaur. Trevor kissed their foreheads, a lump in his throat. This wasn't just about him anymore. It was about them. Emily didn't deserve their love, their trust. She didn't deserve anything. As he shut their door, his mind raced. Hayes Industries was her lifeline, her family's legacy, her inheritance. If he could take that, he'd take everything. It wouldn't be easy. Her brothers, Dave and Mike, owned stakes too, and Cliff still called the shots. But Trevor had an edge. He was invisible to them, the quiet guy in the background. They'd never see him coming. That night, he sat at the kitchen table, the folder open, Emily's betrayal staring back at him. He didn't sleep. By dawn, he had a plan, not revenge in the hot-blooded, fist-swinging sense, but something colder, sharper. Legal. She'd humiliated him, but he'd humiliate her worse, strip away her wealth, her status, her pride, and do it all without breaking a single law. The rain stopped as the sun rose, casting a pale light over Portland. Trevor smiled for the first time in days. Emily had no idea the storm she'd unleashed. Trevor Hunt wasn't a man who acted on impulse. After finding Emily's texts and watching that damning video, her laughing, calling him clueless, he didn't storm home or confront her. He went cold instead, like steel hardening in a forge. If she thought he was boring, he'd show her just how wrong she was. But first, he needed more than a folder of photos and a grainy clip. He needed a sledgehammer of evidence, something she couldn't charm her way out of. So, while Emily flitted off to her golf weekends, Trevor dug deeper, silent as a shadow. Ray, the private investigator, was a wiry guy with a smoker's rasp and a knack for disappearing into crowds. Over coffee at a dingy Portland diner, he'd handed Trevor the first batch of proof. Motel receipts, bar tabs, Emily's Mercedes parked outside a country club with a guy leaning too close. But Trevor wanted more. Tell her this weekend, he told Ray, sliding an envelope of cash across the table. I need something undeniable. Dates, names, faces. Ray raised an eyebrow but took the money. You're playing with fire, man, he said. Trevor didn't blink. She lit the match. That Saturday, Emily kissed the twins goodbye, flashed Trevor a breezy smile, and sped off, claiming a tournament in Salem. He didn't buy it. By evening, Ray called. She's not in Salem, he said, voice low. She's at the Marriott downtown. Room 308. Got a guy with her, tall, slick, looks like money. Trevor's grip tightened on the phone. Get me proof, he said. An hour later, Ray texted a photo. Emily, in a red dress, slipping into the hotel elevator with a man in a tailored suit, his hand on her lower back. Trevor stared at it, jaw tight, until the screen blurred. Sunday morning, Emily waltzed back home, all sunshine and lies. Great weekend, she chirped, tossing her purse on the counter. Won my match. Trevor nodded, pouring coffee, his face a mask. Good for you, he said, voice flat. She didn't notice the edge, he'd gotten good at hiding it. That night, Ray dropped off a USB drive. You're not gonna like this, he warned, then left. Trevor plugged it into his laptop after the boys were asleep. The footage was shaky, filmed from a car across the street, but clear enough. Emily and the suit guy, a Ray ID'd him as James Carver, some real estate hotshot, stumbled out of the hotel bar, laughing, her arm looped through his. They climbed into his BMW, and the car rocked slightly before pulling away. Then came the audio. Ray had slipped a recorder into her purse, somehow risky, but it paid off. Her voice crackled through. Trevor's got no spine. Thinks I'm some perfect wife. I'd leave him if the kids weren't in the way. James laughed. Purse sap. But he's home folding laundry right now. Probably, she said, giggling. He's got no clue I've been doing this for years. Trevor's blood ran cold. Years. Not months, years. The twins, Luke and Austin, flashed in his mind, 5 years old, half his life with her a lie. He shut the laptop, hand shaking, but not from weakness. It was rage, pure and focused. He didn't stop there. Over the next month, Ray tracked her like a hound. She didn't just have one guy. There were 3 regulars, all rich, all smug. James was the loudest, but there was a golf pro named Trent and a lawyer, Miles, who'd sent her a diamond bracelet Trevor found hidden in her dresser. Receipts piled up. $500 dinners, $2,000 spa days, all charged to a card tied to Hayes Industries, her family's company, where Trevor worked. She was bleeding them dry, and he'd been too blind to see it. But now he saw everything. The final blow came by accident. Ray caught Emily at a bar, drunk, spilling secrets to Trent. If Cliff kicks it, I'm set, she slurred, meaning her father. The company's mine, well, me and my idiot brothers. Trevor'll just keep slaving away for us. Trent smirked. What if he finds out? She laughed, sharp and cruel. He won't. He's too pathetic to fight back. Trevor replayed that line all night, her words carving into him. Pathetic. Clueless. Boring. Each one fueled him, turning hurt into something harder. He didn't need more proof. Ray had given him a loaded gun. But Trevor wasn't ready to fire yet. Confronting her now would just spark a screaming match, and she'd twist it, play the victim. No, he'd wait, plan, strike when she least expected it. Hayes Industries was her lifeline, her inheritance, her power. He'd take it apart, piece by piece, and leave her with nothing but her lies. As he tucked the boys in that night, Luke mumbled, "Where's Mommy?" Trevor forced a smile. "Out playing," he said. Soon, she'd have no game left to play. Trevor Hunt had always been the guy in the background, reliable, unnoticed, grinding away while others took the spotlight. At Hayes Industries, that invisibility became his weapon. Emily's betrayal had lit a fuse, but instead of blowing up, he channeled it into a plan. Take her family's company, her pride, her future, and turn it into his. She'd mocked him as spineless, boring, pathetic. He'd prove her wrong, not with fists or shouts, but with moves so sharp she'd never see them coming. Step 1. Climb the ladder without her noticing. Hayes Industries wasn't just a job, it was Emily's inheritance. Her father, Cliff Hayes, owned 40%, while she and her brothers, Dave and Mike, split the rest, 20% each. Cliff, a gruff ex-pilot with a handshake like iron, ran the show, barking orders from his corner office. Dave, the oldest, was a salesman with a whiskey habit and a losing streak at the casino. Mike, the middle kid, was a purchasing clerk who'd rather fish than work. Emily? She didn't lift a finger but lived off the dividends like a queen. Trevor, meanwhile, was just an engineer until he decided he wasn't. He started small. Cliff liked results, not flash, so Trevor delivered. He pitched a plan to streamline production, swap out old machines for CNC tech, cut downtime by 15%. Cliff grunted approval, and soon Trevor was leading the overhaul. 6 months later, profits spiked, and Cliff called him in. "Good work, Hunt," he said, tossing a folder across the desk. "You're operations manager now. Don't screw it up." Trevor nodded, hiding a smirk. Step 1. Done. Emily didn't bat an eye, too busy with her golf pro to care. Next, the brothers. Dave was a mess, drinking away his pay, dodging creditors. One night, Trevor found him at a dive bar, slurring over a bourbon. "Need cash?" Trevor asked, sliding onto a stool. Dave squinted. "What's it to you?" Trevor leaned in. "I'll loan you $500,000. No interest. Just put up your shares as collateral." Dave laughed, then coughed. "You're nuts." "Fine, deal." He signed the papers half-drunk, too desperate to read the fine print. If he defaulted, Trevor got the 20%. A month later, Dave blew the cash on a Vegas bender and missed the repayment. Trevor owned his stake. Mike was easier. He hated the job, showed up late, stared out windows, let orders pile up. Trevor caught him at the office one rainy afternoon. "You look miserable," he said. Mike sighed. "I am. Want to buy me out?" Trevor played it cool. "What's your price?" Mike shrugged. $8,000 a month, forever. I'm gone. Trevor wrote the contract. Lifetime payments for Mike's 20%. Mike signed, packed a fishing rod, and vanished to a cabin in the woods. Trevor didn't flinch. Mike wouldn't live long enough to make it a bad deal. 2 brothers down, 40% in his pocket. Then Cliff dropped a bomb. At 62, his heart gave out, collapsed mid-meeting, gone before the ambulance arrived. Emily wailed at the funeral, all crocodile tears, while Trevor stood silent, calculating. Cliff's 40% split 3 ways, 13% each to Emily, Dave, and Mike. But Dave and Mike's shares were already Trevor's, so he claimed their cuts. That gave him 66% controlling interest. Emily's stake rose to 33%, but she didn't know the boardroom was now his chessboard. She strutted around, oblivious, flashing a new Rolex from a friend. Trevor didn't stop. As operations manager, he'd earned the workers' trust, guys like his buddy Pete, a welder who'd clocked 20 years. They hated Emily's brothers, Dave's boozy rants, Mike's laziness. Trevor called a quiet meeting in the break room. "Cliff's gone," he said. "I'm running things now. Stick with me. We'll grow this place." Pete clapped his shoulder. "You're one of us, Hunt. We're in." Loyalty secured, he locked the staff behind him like a vault door. Emily finally noticed when Trevor moved into Cliff's old office. She stormed in, heels clicking, eyes blazing. "What the hell are you doing in Dad's chair?" she snapped. He leaned back, calm as ice. "It's mine now. Check the shareholder list." She scoffed. "You're delusional. I own this company." He slid a paper across the desk, ownership breakdown, his 66% circled. Her face went white. "How?" she stammered. "Dave and Mike," he said. "They sold out. You didn't." She glared, then spun and left, muttering about lawyers. Trevor smiled. She had no idea how deep this went. That night, he sat with Luke and Austin, helping them build a Lego plane. "Daddy, why's Mommy mad?" Luke asked. Trevor ruffled his hair. She's just lost a game, but he'd taken her power, but not her money, not yet. The dividends she lived on? Those were next. Emily thought she'd won by birthright. Trevor knew better. He'd earned this, step by calculated step, and she'd feel the weight of it soon enough. Trevor Hunt had spent months building his trap, and now it was time to spring it. With 66% of Hayes Industries in his grip, he held the keys to Emily's kingdom, her wealth, her status, her smug little world. She'd mocked him as clueless, cheated for years, and lived off the company like it was her personal ATM. But Trevor wasn't the quiet pushover she thought. He'd turned her family's legacy into his weapon, and today, she'd feel the blade. It started with a house, a mansion she demanded, the final piece of his plan. Emily had been nagging for months about a $3 million estate in Portland's West Hills, 6 bedrooms, marble floors, a view to die for. "We deserve it," she'd said, flipping her hair. "I'm not living in that dump forever." Trevor saw his chance. "Fine," he said, voice even. "But we need a post-nup first. Your money stays yours, mine stays mine." She smirked, thinking she'd outsmarted him. "Deal," she signed, blind to the hook. The mansion was hers alone, her name on the deed, her dividends on the line. Trevor's hands were clean. He called a board meeting the next week, his first as majority owner. Emily didn't show, too busy shopping for chandeliers. In a stark conference room, Trevor sat with Pete, the welder who'd taken Cliff's old board seat, and a lawyer named Carla. "Profits are up," Trevor said, sliding a report forward. "But we're reinvesting new tech, better wages. No dividends this quarter." Pete nodded. "Workers need it more than shareholders." Carla stamped the minutes. "Done." Emily's quarterly check, $150,000 she lived on, vanished. Trevor leaned back, picturing her face when the bank called. It didn't take long. 2 days later, Emily burst into his office, a storm of fury in a designer coat. "Where's my money?" she shrieked, slamming a bank notice on his desk. "You can't do this." Trevor met her glare, calm as stone. "I can. I own 66%. Board voted, no dividends." Her eyes widened, then narrowed. "You set me up. That post-nup, you knew." He shrugged. "You wanted the house. I gave it to you." She lunged forward, voice venomous. "I'll sue you. I'll take the boys. You'll regret this, Trevor." He slid a folder across, raise evidence. Photos, audio, her laughing about him with her lovers. "Try it," he said. "The judge'll love this." She froze, flipping through the pages, her and James's BMW, her voice slurring. Trevor's pathetic. Her hands shook. "You bastard," she whispered. "You think you've won?" He stood, towering over her now. "I have. You're broke, Emily. No dividends, no cash. That mansion? Mortgage is due. Good luck." She staggered back, face pale. "I'll sell it," she snapped. Trevor smiled, cold. "Market's slow. Bank'll foreclose first." She clutched the folder, tears brimming, but he felt nothing. She dug this grave. The fallout was swift. Without dividends, Emily couldn't pay the $20,000 monthly mortgage. She listed the house too high. No takers. Creditors circled. Her Mercedes got repossessed after she missed payments. Trevor watched from afar, unmoved. She called once, voice trembling. "Jeff, please, I'll change. For the boys." He cut her off. "You don't even know their favorite color. It's blue, by the way." Click. She'd never cared. Luke and Austin barely asked for her anymore. He'd kept every text. Every night she'd ditched them for trips. She had no leverage. Then came the final twist. Emily hired a lawyer, a slick guy named Voss, probably another fling. He stormed into Hayes Industries, waving a lawsuit. "You coerced her into that post-nup," he barked. Trevor sat back, Carla at his side. "It's ironclad," she said, tossing the signed contract on the table. She agreed. No claim to his assets, no alimony. Shares are hers, but dividends are discretionary. Voss blustered, but the math didn't lie. Trevor's 66% ruled. The suit crumbled before it hit court. Emily's last card burned. A month later, Trevor drove by the West Hills mansion. A foreclosure sign stabbed the lawn. The windows were dark. Pete had heard she'd moved into a cheap apartment downtown, hawking her jewelry online. Her country club friends ghosted her. No money, no invites. Trevor didn't gloat. He'd stripped her bare, legally, methodically, because she'd done worse to him. That night, he grilled burgers for the boys, their laughter filling the bungalow. "Daddy, you're the best," Austin said, ketchup on his chin. Trevor grinned. This was his win, not her ruin, but their peace. Trevor Hunt had dismantled Emily's world piece by piece, her wealth, her status, her lies, without ever raising a fist. She'd cheated, mocked him, abandoned their sons, Luke and Austin, for years. Now, with Hayes Industries under his control and her mansion foreclosed, Trevor stood on solid ground. He didn't need revenge to feel whole. He needed justice, and he'd gotten it, lawful and clean. But the story wasn't over until Emily faced the mirror, and until he built something better for the boys. The fallout settled fast. Emily's $3 million West Hills estate sold at auction for half its value, barely covering the bank's claim. Her Mercedes was long gone, swapped for a beat-up sedan she bought with her last cash. The country club cut her off, no dues, no membership. Old friends stopped calling. Her Instagram, once a parade of luxury, went silent. Trevor heard she'd taken a job, waitressing at a golf course diner, irony as thick as the coffee. She'd fallen from queen to nobody, and he didn't lift a finger to push her. She'd done it herself. He moved on. The Portland bungalow, once too small for Emily, became home again. Trevor ripped out her gaudy decor, gold curtains, tacky art, and painted the walls a warm blue, the twins' favorite color. Nights were simple now. Homework at the kitchen table, Lego battles on the floor, bedtime stories with dinosaur roars. "You're better than Mommy," Luke said one evening, hugging him tight. Trevor's chest ached, not from anger, but pride. He'd shielded them from her chaos, given them a dad they could trust. That was his real win. Hayes Industries thrived under him. With dividends axed, he poured profits into the plant, new welders, raises for guys like Pete, even a daycare for workers' kids. The staff rallied. Production soared. Trevor didn't flaunt it, though. He drove the same old truck, wore the same scuffed boots. "You're one of us," Pete said at a break room toast, raising a soda. "Cliff be proud." Trevor nodded, thinking of the boys. This wasn't about ego, it was legacy, something Emily never understood. Then she came crawling back. One rainy afternoon, Emily showed up at the bungalow, soaked and hollow-eyed. No makeup, no swagger, just a woman in a thrift store coat. "Trevor," she said, voice small, "I need help. I can't pay rent. The job's not enough." He stepped onto the porch, arms crossed. "Not my problem." She flinched. "Please, for the boys. They need a mom." He laughed, sharp and low. "They've got me. You ditched them for years, hotels, lovers, lies. Blue's their favorite color, Emily. Did you know that?" Her face crumpled. She didn't. She tried one last play. "I'll sell you my shares," she said. 33%. Name a price." Trevor leaned in, voice steady. $50,000. Market value for a minority stake with no power. Take it or keep waiting for dividends that'll never come." Her eyes welled up. "That's nothing. It's more than you deserve," he shot back. "You built this mess. Live in it." She stared, then nodded, defeated. Carla drew up the papers. Emily signed, hands trembling. Trevor wired the money and owned 100%. She walked away, a shadow of the woman who'd mocked him. The final twist came weeks later. Emily's lawyer, Voss, called. "She's filing for custody," he bluffed. Trevor didn't blink. "Tell her to try. I've got years of texts, her gone 200 nights a year. Photos too. She'll lose." Voss hung up fast. Emily never followed through. She knew he'd bury her in court with Ray's folder. The boys stayed his, safe from her grasp. She faded from their lives completely, a ghost they didn't miss. Spring arrived, and Trevor took Luke and Austin to the coast, Cannon Beach, waves crashing, sand between their toes. They built a castle, laughing as the tide nipped at it. "Daddy, we're a team," Austin said, grinning. Trevor ruffled his hair. "Always, but..." Back home, he framed a photo of that day, 3 smiles, no shadows. Emily had chased wealth and thrills, leaving nothing real. Trevor had fought for something better, love, trust, a future. She'd lost everything because she valued nothing. Months later, a coworker mentioned seeing Emily at the diner, taking orders with a tight smile. "She asked about you," he said. Trevor shrugged. "Hope she's learning." He didn't care, not out of spite, but because she didn't matter anymore. Justice wasn't loud or cruel. It was quiet, final. Emily reaped what she'd sown, and Trevor built a life worth living. The boys ran in, shouting about a new Lego set. He grinned. This was enough.